Why did you all of a sudden add 2 to the...
Because
You're funny, man.
I think people like to have options. I know I do. We're matching. We're cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for this yet. It's too early.
I've been ready. I've been ready since Halloween. Hello everyone and welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
Christmas.
And
Mickey Mouse.
yes! Finally, we agree on something. That is exactly what we're all about. We are here today in our matching Mickey Mouse Christmas sweaters. I don't even know if you could see the Christmas part. Oh, I guess there's snowflakes.
There's really not a ton of Christmas.
So we could wear these all year round?
Yeah.
Perfect. We are here to do a holiday gift guide. We love games. You love games.
We love games?
You want other people to love games, so you're going to get them games for Christmas, whether they want them or not.
You missed my joke.
What?
I said, we love games?
We have some categories and 2 recommendations per category, which is a real curveball for Jeff because he didn't know I was pulling out 2. Classic.
No, because we talked about our list. We came to an agreement.
And
then you were like, oh, I'm just going to make a whole other list.
People like options. We have 2 recommendations per category. We're going to get started because obviously we got a poop ton of games to go through. Wait, are we centered? Should I be here? We're going to start with the first category.
Oh, let's just call it that, cattery.
We are going to start with our first category, and that is for the kids. Because
FTK.
you gotta get them young into the hobby so that they grow up to be cool board gamers.
That's borderline brainwashing.
Well, it's for board games, though.
Oh,
It's
okay,
fine.
so it's fine.
We actually have 2 recommendations that we don't own physical copies of.
Correct.
Because we don't have kids. But
we don't.
The first one is one that we would own because we are basically kids at heart.
I friggin'
This is one of Jeff's favorite
love
games.
this game.
Our first recommendation for the kids, FTKs, is
Draftosaurus.
Draftosaurus. And why do we think this is great for kids? Well, first of all, it says 8 and up on the box. We don't know anything about kids. We just assume that 8 and up means that kids can play this game. This is a great recommendation.
That's not my logic at all.
It's not? That was mine.
Well, I mean, first off, it's dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Kids love dinosaurs.
Yep, everybody
loves dinosaurs. Chonky dinosaur meeples.
Yep.
I mean, say no more.
And they're all pretty colors.
They're all pretty colors. The
Yep.
board is super cute.
Yep.
And it's very simple. You're basically putting dinosaurs in different sections of your park. And none of them are overly complicated. Like, put 3 here of any kind. Match 2 here. Mm-hmm. It's super fun. I love it so much. It's so simple. You can chat while you're playing it. I don't think the kids would have a ton of issues figuring out the rule set, as I've mentioned.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a perfect little
kid game.
A little kid game.
Yeah. And then the other recommendation that we have on the list, we haven't actually tried ourselves, but we know
there's no way
kids would
wouldn't
not like
yeah.
this, and that is Catapult Kingdom.
Yeah. And
this is basically a game where you're building up a structure and you're catapulting stuff at it to knock it over to your opponent's structure.
Yeah.
So,
you literally have catapults that you're shooting projectiles
at. It's kind of like board game adjacent, leaning more towards toy. Like, I feel like parents would have a great time playing this with their kids as well.
Part of this too, like Tom Vassell did a cool little review of this game, and he mentioned how much he loved playing it with his kids and how much his kids loved it. So tried, tested, and true. It does look super cool. I know myself well enough. When I was a kid, I would have loved to have had that. Yeah. You know, like just knocking stuff down and building it back up and knocking it down again and playing that with my brother or my dad or whatever.
Our second category is for the friend that you want to trick into getting into gaming. Gotta trick them. This category is all about games that you would gift your friends who aren't really gamers. Maybe they've shown a slight interest, but you're like, okay, well, what can we get them that is easy enough for them to learn, complex enough to keep their attention, and
make them come back to you and say, hey, what other suggestions do you have? What other games can we play?
So for this category, the first one that we have, and I'm going to try to not touch the front because fingerprints come all over it, Project L.
Project L is a very simple puzzle game with Tetris-like pieces.
Yes.
Simple mechanics. It's got a little bit of enough different board game mechanics in it that I think it would introduce people to certain things. Like it's got a draft element where you're not really draft, I guess you're buying cards. Like it's got a bit of a market where you're taking puzzles from the middle in order to complete. It's tactile. The pieces are beautiful. The components are incredible.
Table presence is great.
And really all you're doing is grabbing puzzles, completing puzzles, and upgrading components to complete more complex puzzles.
Yeah, and if nothing else, like this is just a beautiful looking game to to give somebody, and like I feel like a non-gamer would look at this and be like, yeah,
That's
I think
interesting.
I might like to try that.
Yeah.
And plus, if you mentioned Tetris, that's already kind of like something that people have played a ton of.
Even
They're
if
like,
they haven't, they know what it is.
It makes it more approachable,
Yeah.
I think. So that would be our first recommendation for a friend that you want to trick into gaming.
Definitely.
And the second recommendation will be Villainous. This is a very approachable game for new gamers. The theme of Disney is also going to draw people in. How this works is you're playing as a villain. You're trying to achieve the villain's like goal or mission. Objectives, and you're trying to block other people. You could play it with 2 players, 3 players, 4 players. I think it's approachable because especially people who like Disney, are going to kind of understand their goal if they've seen that movie, if they find a villain that they really enjoy playing with. And I just think it's easy enough to learn. I would recommend getting them the base game because it comes with 6 characters, and if they enjoy it enough, then they can go and get the expand-alones. But the 6 characters that come in the base box will give enough variability that'll keep them going for a while, and I think it will leave them wanting more. I think this is a fantastic game to get people who are just getting into the hobby. Next up, we have For the Parents. We base this off of Jeff's parents specifically. They like to play crib, card games. They're familiar with trick-taking games.
Mom loves to put puzzles together.
The 2 recommendations that we have are strictly 2-player games because we're also assuming that they are parents like Jeff's parents who don't have any kids around anymore because everybody's left
home. And we're assuming they're playing them together without like grandkids and stuff, because that would be a whole different thing.
One of them can play with a grandkid, I think, with either of these games. First one we're going to talk about is Patchwork, and this is the Christmas edition, which would obviously be a good option for the holidays. Jeff's mom would probably like the Christmas one the best, I think. A simple polyomino tile placement game for 2 players. It is very approachable. It is simple enough for somebody who is familiar with puzzles. The rule set is not complicated, and I just think that this is a great game to get the parents. It's also a great cottage game.
Next up, we have Fox in the Forest, and this one's pretty simple. In my experience with my folks, and I would assume this would be the case for a lot of people in that generation, is trick-taking games. You know, I know crib isn't necessarily a trick-taking game, but it's
spades or hearts.
Kind of like that. Hearts is. There's tons of trick-taking games that I played growing up, that my parents would have played growing up, and this is just kind of a natural progression. It's a trick-taking game that's super cute and doesn't have a ton of components. It's basically just cards and some tiny little, like, I guess, score tokens. And it's basically trick-taking with a just added element of that where there's certain card abilities that when you play it, it does something. There's reference cards, and again, it caters to that trick-taking element that a lot of people have played in some capacity.
So those are for the rents, for the parents.
Is that a term that kids use anymore?
For the rents? I don't know.
When we were growing up, it was
rents.
The rents.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an East Coast thing?
Maybe, I don't know. Next category is for the traveler in your life. Now that the world is starting to open up and we are getting back on planes and going and doing more adventures, we all know friends that love to travel. For this category, we have selected 2 games, one of which is for when they travel.
When they travel.
And the other of which is because they enjoy travel. First up on the list, we have Fantasy Realms.
Fantasy Realms is such a good game.
Oh my god.
It's just cards, and you're just building the best possible hand that you can. You could sleeve these, you don't even need the box. You could bring just the stack of cards with a little deck box or whatever you want to do. Easy to travel with, takes up minimal space, and there's just so much fun to be had. Each game is a bit different because you're basically going to be stuck with what you're kind of dealing with in terms of your cards, and all you're trying to do is combo off of all the cards in your hand to score the maximum points that you can.
And with this, like you see the size of the box, but really if somebody is traveling, this is all they need. That's it. There's nothing else you need. You do not need the score pad if you have the app or just a piece of paper handy. That's all you need. So that is very easy to pack in a carry-on bag. We pretty much recommend that for everybody.
Yeah.
And then the other game, because they like to travel, of course, would be Parks. And this is all about the national parks all over North America. I think it's just the US. There's somebody who likes to travel. They're probably going to like this game. It's beautiful. It's like action selection, resource collection, and basically your objectives. You're visiting parks and stuff like that. It's just a very beautiful game that I haven't found anybody that we've played with who has not liked this game. And I think it would just get even heightened even more if it's somebody who has kind of that travel bug that lives within them.
Has been to some of the parks. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and there's expansions that you can get, and same with Fantasy Realms. I love when games have expansion. So if you get a game for someone and they really love it, then maybe for their birthday, you get them the expansion or something like that. But I think Parks is a great option for somebody who enjoys traveling. Exactly. Totes my goat. Next up, we have recommendations for the solo gamer in your life. Now, I am the solo gamer in Jeff's life, so I picked both of these. I just want to caveat this by saying that I haven't gotten into any heavy solo games, so I'm sure that there are a lot of very good options out there, but if you are buying for somebody who's maybe new into solo gaming, or not even, I think that these are good for everybody. My first option is going to be That's Pretty Clever. This is a roll and write game that not only works well solo, but you could play with others. This is probably the game that I played the most solo. It is a game that you could take everywhere you go. I know people who literally throw this in their purse or their bag, and then if they're stuck in traffic, they'll just pull this out and play it in their car. And basically all you're doing is trying to beat your previous score. So it's just a challenge for yourself. Then the other one I have is Overboss, which is a tile drafting, tile placement game that is not strictly solo, but the solo campaign within this is one that I've had a ton of fun with. It's easy to get to the table, it's easy to understand, and the solo rules do not deviate very far from the main game rules. So if it's just like you have people in your family who also enjoy playing games, this plays well with kids, it plays well with pretty much everyone. But if you're more of a gamer than everyone else, or you know somebody who is, then this would be a really good game to have on your shelf to be like, well, I'm just going to play Overboss solo. Yeah. I've had a ton of fun playing this solo. Next category is for Secret Santa. I know at work, I don't know if you guys do this, or going to be doing this at work, but we do Secret Santa every year.
We will not.
We will not. We flop between Secret Santa and Yankee Swap. This year we're doing Secret Santa. I picked two games that I thought would be good for pretty much anyone, and I'm thinking Secret Santa more so for like work. So the first one that we picked is Just One. Just One
is a party game that you're basically picking a word, and everyone around you needs to write on a little whiteboard-esque thing a word that corresponds with the word they need to guess.
Yeah.
And if multiple people pick the same word, those are eliminated and they're not provided to the person as a clue. And then the person guesses. It's so fun. Anyone can play this game.
Yeah.
Whether you like board games or you don't, whether you like party games or you don't, it's just so fun. It's so fast. It's put out on the table and play.
Yeah.
I'm assuming with Secret Santa, it's kind of one of those things where why not?
Why not? Like, and this is kind of one that would be approachable even for somebody who is not a gamer.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I like board games and this is kind of my realm. I don't know if you do or not, but here's a game that I think even if you don't love board games, it's great. It's great if you have people over and you're entertaining and it's like, what do we want to do? Well, I've got this game for Christmas.
Party games are great for that.
Do you want to play it?
Yeah, and I've played that with my work crew who aren't gamers. It took me like 2 minutes to explain it to them, and then we were playing and everybody had a great time.
Right after the Secret Santa event happens.
It's like, let's play Just
One. Oh, like we have a game now that we can play. Let's try it out.
Exactly. And then the other one is a bit of a curveball, I think, but that is Canvas, because if nothing else, they can hang it on their wall for art. But this is it set collect? It's an objective-based game.
I would say it's a bit set collection.
Where you're building out pieces of art using translucent cards, and it is just so beautiful. The rules are not complicated, and I think if you are giving this to somebody as a Secret Santa present, whether you know that they're into games or not, I do feel like this is a game that they would look at and be like, oh, I would really want to try this because it's so beautiful. It also, like, it literally has a hook. You can hang it on your wall for art. They might not even notice it's a game and just think you're giving them a piece of art.
I think that would likely be the case to start. Until they actually looked at the back and stuff.
It is one that I would like to share with people who don't know a lot about the hobby, to be like, this is what a board game can be. And they might be like, wow, so beautiful.
I agree. It's got really interesting dynamic of like sliding cards together to score points and creating
and it's like, it's kind of like puzzly.
A painting,
So that is for Secret Santa. Next up, we have For a Couple.
You picked 3 for this?
Well, the last one, as you know...
This is 100% due to your fact that you can't make a decision.
Can't make decisions. Whatever. Okay. Whoa. So, For a Couple, we have picked a few. I am just going to pull this one out very quickly. We don't even need to talk about it. Just know that we recommend this for couples and for everyone, everywhere. Infinitely, every time. That was the third game on the list. It's Silver Bullet. It's just amazing. But obviously, it's our favorite game to play as a couple, so I felt like we couldn't not mention it.
It's also one of those things where we talk about it so much that we always feel like to add it to a list, it's like, oh yeah, okay.
You guys already know we recommend that.
So.
But just in case this is the first video you ever saw, just know that we recommend Silver Bullet.
We're constantly fighting this battle of it. There's new people watching and they've never seen us talk about Silver Bullet unless they go back and watch a bunch of videos.
Exactly. So. The first game then in this category is Rift Force.
Rift Force is a card dueling game. Basically, you are fighting up a track. You're trying to defeat each person's elemental creatures.
Yes.
There's some asymmetry in this game where each elemental creature operates a bit differently and attacks a bit differently. And battling, which we love. It's super take-that-y.
It's beautiful. It's so pretty.
It's beautiful. There's not a ton of components. There's not a ton of rules overhead. Plays pretty quickly, and it's just super fun.
For the competitive couple.
For the competitive couple,
in your life.
For sure. Same as Silver Bullet.
If you know a couple like us.
If you're competitive, this is the one.
That's the one. Now, for the non-competitive couple.
Yeah.
Don't know what that's like. The Initiative. And this game is a code-breaking, puzzle-solving mystery game. It does have elements of it that are spoilers, basically the whole game, so we can't say too much about it, but essentially we feel like this is a great game for couples because you are working together. It, in our opinion, works best at 2 players. Really, like, it's just a good opportunity for you guys to sit down, almost like do an activity together.
Solve a puzzle together.
You can do 1 or 2 scenarios at a time and put it away and then pull it out again. And this is one of those games where, like, when we were playing it together, it's like, oh, can we do one more? Can we do one more? And it was just a really fun thing to do as a couple. So we do recommend the Initiative. So our next category is going to be Treat Yourself. But in this category, it is games that if you want to buy yourself a present, girl, treat yourself.
So we included 2 things here. One, Kickstarter.
That we have already treated ourselves
to, and we think you should too. But if you're not into Kickstarters, we added basically games that we wish we could just buy
without having to think about how much it costs.
Yeah, without cost.
High-priced games that
games that were like, I want this right now.
We look at it and we're just like, oh, I really want it, but like, I don't really want to spend that much on it. In terms of treat yourself games that we have already treated ourselves with, for me, it is the deluxe version of Honey Buzz.
You backed it?
I did. It is the deluxe version of Honey Buzz along with the Fall Flavors expansion. This is like $180 US dollars, but I have been waiting for this game. You can't find it anywhere, and I will pay whatever it takes to have this, and I'm treating myself with Honey Buzz.
I have treated myself to ISS Vanguard by Awaken Realms. ISS Vanguard is a epic space campaign, big box, beautiful miniature game. I added the miniatures expansion. I do paint, and there's a ton of value there for me. I think it came in around $220 Canadian, which honestly, I'm not even like, I don't care. Like,
not even like I don't care.
I want it.
If we were going to treat ourselves with another game that wasn't a Kickstarter, something that's already out, for me, that would be Stuffed Fables as well as the expansion, Oh Brother. So it's about $100 plus the expansion, which I'm sure is probably like, I don't know, 50 or 60. That isn't like an outrageous price for a board game. The games that I like are usually in like the 40 to 60 range because I like smaller, lighter games. So when I see a game that's like 100 plus, I'm always like, I could get 2 smaller games for that, and I never bite the bullet. I think Stuffed Fables and the expansion, Oh Brother, definitely, I mean, this is adorable, like, campaign game with teddy bears. And
for me, it is Mechs vs. Minions. And this is accessible directly from the publisher. It clocks in after tax at around 200 Canadian. Mechs vs. Minions is an incredible production. I think it's just a little bit overpriced for me right now because like the shipping and everything. If you've ever seen this game, it looks incredible. The minis are painted. It's in the Warhammer realm. It's just, I cannot for some reason bite the bullet and buy it. I'm still hoping that I can find a used copy for cheaper or something. But if someone came to me and said, pick a game right now, I'll buy it for you. That's not like outlandish, like Kingdom Death Monster or something. It would be that one.
Our next category is stocking stuffers, because you gotta have them little stocking stuffers. For this category, we have selected 5 well, technically 6 games.
This has all changed since we planned this. I'm just saying.
It's fine, Jeffrey. I like to keep you on your toes. That's what keeps marriage exciting. So the first one we have to recommend is Regicide. So we know you can play this game with a 52 card deck, but this is the actual like version of this game that you can buy. This is obviously, it's just like a deck of cards, fits nicely into a stocking, and it is a super fun game. I think this would be a great game to play on Christmas Day, actually, with like your family, because it's relatively easy to understand and
very difficult to win.
Very difficult to win, but easy to understand. So that is Regicide. Next up,
it's a good ad.
I thought so.
Next up, we have Skull King, another trick-taking game. Super interactive with the players around you.
Yo, ho, ho!
It's kind of like a bidding, trick-taking like element. You have to
say at the beginning how many tricks you think you're going to win.
Yeah, and then like you can play it 2 ways. You could basically be like, I'm going to make sure you don't get the bid you wanted. And you can kind of shoot for the moon on each turn and say, I'm going to bid 0. And if you bid 0, it's worth way more points. But obviously the chances of you busting on that are super high.
Yeah.
We love Skull King. It's likely our favorite trick-taking game at this point. And tiny box, deck of cards.
Tiny box, bigger heart. So the next one that we have is Cult Super Express. So we have recently been very into Cult Express, which comes in a big box. It has a 3D train and all that good stuff. This is the condensed version of that game. Don't get the 3D train. If you want the 3D train, you got to get the big game. This one instead comes with the train as cards, so it's more portable. You could take it traveling with you. It's just a freaking ton of fun. Small game will definitely fit.
So
it's like a sequencing game where you're on a train and you're like shooting people and taking their loot and punching people. The punching part is my favorite part. Like you could literally, you just punch people.
It's so fun.
It's hilarious.
It's
a Western game. It's amazing. That's Cult Super Express.
Yeah. Next up, we have Air, Land, and Sea. We own this copy, but we're going to state and recommend the Critters version because it's cuter.
Unless you
it's more like, unless the person in your life prefers this theme. Either or. Air, Land, and Sea is, again, just a deck of cards. It's dueling 3 theaters of war, so air, land, and sea, and you're stacking each with different types of equipment, tanks, ships, planes, in order to defeat the other person and score more points, essentially.
Yep.
Such a great game.
Yeah. And then we have 2 other ones that we actually don't own physical copies of, but we have played them on BGA and would love to have physical copies of them. Number 1 is Similo, which is a game that you could easily play with the entire family. It would be great to play with your family on Christmas. And basically you have a bunch of cards and one person who is giving out clues, kind of like Mysterium.
Yep.
And they're giving you a clue saying that the character that you are guessing is either similar to this character or it is not similar. So you might have a whole board of animals and the character you're trying to guess is a bear. So you might have a frog and you would say, all right, the character you're trying to guess is dissimilar to a frog. Or it is similar to a wolf because it's furry. So that's just a fun game. It comes in like a little card box. It's just cards. It's super fun. And then the other one is Abandon All Artichokes, another one that you could play with the whole family. It's simple, it's adorable, and it comes in just a little artichoke shaped tin that would fit very easily into a stocking. And I just think it would be fun for anyone. You could give it to like anyone.
Yeah, I think anyone's going to pull that out and be like, what is this?
What is this?
Like just with the way that, you know, the packaging is an artichoke. I just think it would immediately invoke that. Like, I want to open this up and see what this is about.
Exactly.
Even if they're not gamers.
Yeah. And I did also want to mention another good thing for a stocking is a dice tray.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to pull another game. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Because you can get dice trays from a lot of different game stores. They usually come flattened out. You just shove that right in a stocking. This is a bit of a bigger one, but you can get like little ones.
Yeah, you can get little cube ones.
Yeah, and dice for that matter.
Anything like small.
Anything small.
If they're gamers and you want to like give them a little upgrade or whatever.
And the very final category we have is just a random game that we would both recommend, or that we would each recommend.
Res Arcana, especially if you're 2-player primary and you're into board games. I think this one kind of requires you to already be in the hobby to some degree. Res Arcana is quickly rising as a game that I just absolutely love. We play it all the time. We've introduced it to friends of ours who also love it. There's 2 expansions out now, which basically just add to the game, which I love the most about expansions. It doesn't change anything. It just gives you more options. It gives you more game. Res Arcana is a bit of an engine builder, but kind of a bit more cutthroat where resources are limited, cards are limited, and you have to make what you have in front of you work, whatever that means, in order to win. And I just love it so much, and I'd recommend recommend it to anyone that's already in the hobby that hasn't played it.
If you know somebody who is like Jeff, that would be a good game for them. If you know somebody who is like me, get a New York Zoo. This game is freaking adorable. So New York Zoo is a polyomino tile placement game where you're building out a zoo. It also has meeples, has flamingos and penguins and foxes or wolves. I don't really know. It has, wait, don't tell me.
Penguins.
Meerkats and kangaroos. And you're just kind of going around the board and your animals are mating and then you're building out your zoo.
Yui Rosenberg mating rules though.
Yeah, it's adorable. It's beautiful. If you know somebody who is into cute games, if you know somebody who is like me, this would be a great gift for them because I love it. So those are the games, which are a lot. We gave you so many options. Those are the games that we would recommend, holiday gifts that you could get for people in your lives.
That's all that's it.
That's all that's it. So if you're interested in buying games for the holidays, number one, you should get started if you haven't already because stock is running out everywhere. If you're interested in buying games, definitely start by checking out your friendly local gaming store. For us here in Halifax, that is
4 Room Game Cafe.
Exactly. And that is all that we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye.
Later days.
I think I need to. Was that your stomach?
Yep.
You hungry or what?
I have not eaten today.
Oh, Jeffrey. Oh, something poked me. I'm fine.
What? What would poke you?
The chair. Oh, the vacuum. Ding, 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 ding. Oh. It's a maze in here. Okay, I gotta turn on the microphone. Check, 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 check out the melody.
How you spelled Mex?
What's wrong?
Yeah, that's not how you spell Mex.
Oh.
There's an H.
Mick.
Mechanical.
You're mechanical. Burn! All right. Are you ready, Jeffrey?
You said readily available. That section I'm looking, the very top one, none of those are readily available.
Oh, Jeffrey. Stop it.
I found a loophole in your logic already.
First one we have as a recommendation, and before we start, I don't have the publishers. It'll all just be going in underneath, okay? Because I know you're going to be like, well, who's it by? Right? Yeah. So just don't worry. It'll all fly in on the bottom.
Sass levels high today.
Yes, it is. I said it right. Polyomino.
Is it polyomino?
No, polyomino.
Really?
Yeah.
I never get.
Oh my God. We're not perfect. Did you guys know that about us?